Felvidek, a short single-player JRPG that follows Paul, a 15th century knight's alcoholic adventures throughout the Slovak Highlands in an alternate timeline where cultists and Catholic priests alike can access the supernatural. Despite the 600-year time gap, our story begins with a striking similarity to the average American's weekend in 2025. A little bit of day drinking, chased by a routine catastrophe that was probably entirely preventable. Upon reporting the scene to our superior Joseph, he calls us a smelly drunkard and tells us to investigate the castle, assuming mischievous youths are to blame. Also, we discover a likely contributor to Paul's struggle with alcohol. He's distraught over his wife leaving him. Joseph tells us to get over it and to seek counsel from a monk named Matthew. Matthew basically says that sucks and advises us to both seek God through prayer and to stop drinking to mend the hole in our heart. In response, we criticize the monk's celibate lifestyle, claiming he knows nothing about the hardships of marriage. Nevertheless, we invite Matthew to join us in exploring the old ruin, who begrudgingly accepts after failing to convince the Lord of the Land that our request is ridiculous and unnecessary. And so we set off, looting what we can as we exit the castle grounds. Not long after, we run into Hussite invaders who try to hassle us for booze money. I tell them to get stuffed, and despite Matthew's attempts to defuse the situation, we're thrown into our first battle. With the Lord on our side, we cut the Hussites down, steal their ears, and wander into a lumberyard to the west, where we find a wool tunic. To the east, we find a town closed off to outsiders, and a naked man near a riverbank who had his clothes stolen. We give the man the tunic we found earlier, and in exchange, he gives us an old helmet to show his gratitude. With nothing else to do, we head north to a tavern, much to Matthew's disapproval. After speaking to a beggar about recent kidnappings, we head inside. Sitting at a table, we meet a local pisshead, which is the perfect name for a former ship captain who abandoned ship and left his passengers to burn. As we got up from the table, the pisshead grabbed hold of us, asking for a coin. We said no thanks and went upstairs to take a nap. Feeling refreshed, we finally headed northwest to the burnt castle we'd seen earlier. Upon arrival, we find a dead ottoman laid out on the ground. Within the ruins, we find a strange seed and some kind of metallic contraption that Matthew thinks is an instrument of the devil. With the only other door blocked off, we head back outside and immediately encounter a pair of hostile cultists. With no armor, they were easy to take down, and with that, we pointed ourselves back home. On the way back, we defeated a particularly combative drunkard named Numbnut. Despite his unfortunate aversion to wearing clothes, he was allowed to join our party. Sadly, he fell into a river just moments later. Also, we got our asses kicked multiple times. Before reporting back to Joseph, we scored some free herbs from the herbalist, traded a vengeful damsel some Hussite ears for her godfather's moonshine, and bribed a knight to overlook our blatant ransacking of personal belongings. After describing our findings, Joseph agrees that the help of an inquisitor named Adam is appropriate, and instructs us to hand off a sealed letter to a knight named Yanchi. We also discover that the strange seed found earlier is simply a coffee bean. Since coffee beans were only being cultivated in the Arabian Peninsula during the 15th century, it makes sense why our characters are unfamiliar with it. Right before we meet Yanchi, we spot our wife near the front gate, who subsequently smacks us and leaves us after learning we haven't changed our alcoholic ways. We find Yanchi in the nearby outhouse, suffering from a tart wine that our wife gave to him. We learn that she wants to meet with him in private in the evening. Joseph, unhappy with Yanchi's inability to travel, advises us to bring him some biscuits and an herbal drink. After doing so, Joseph devises a simple plan. Yanchi is to meet with our wife to gather information, and ties a bag of ash around his ankle so that we can track their movements. Somehow, our wife appears from inside the castle to fetch Yanchi. Following the trail, we open a hidden wall in the castle's basement that reveals a tunnel. After following it, we spot our wife and Yanchi embracing one another. Unable to control ourselves, we rush out to confront our wife, who reveals her allegiance to the cultists during a planned ambush. With Joseph's help, we secure victory. Unsatisfied with Yanchi's worsening condition and inability to restrain our wife or learn anything useful during the ambush, Joseph commands Matthew to play a game of chess with him to soothe his nerves. After a long, chaotic day, we head to bed, only to be awoken during the night by a terrifying humanoid creature. With some quick thinking and a few shield bashes later, we emerge relatively unscathed. Matthew points out that the creature is wearing Yanshi's outfit, and Joseph confirms this observation not long after, concluding that the tainted wine provided by the cultists is responsible for this heretical sorcery. Joseph then orders a subordinate to store Monster Yanshi in the ice house, so that Inquisitor Adam can dissect him upon arrival. As for us, we're instructed to inform the Burgomaster in the town to the east of these strange events.